Imagine this. You walk into a restaurant while traveling. A friendly server smiles and says, "Hello, table for one." You smile back, but suddenly your mind goes completely blank. You practiced English before your trip, but now every sentence seems to disappear. You worry about saying the wrong thing. The server is waiting. Other customers are behind you. The pressure grows, and you wish you could simply point at the menu without speaking. If this sounds familiar, you are not alone. Many English learners do not struggle because the vocabulary is too difficult. They struggle because they have never practiced these short, real-life conversations. The good news is that restaurant English is actually very predictable. The same questions and the same expressions appear again and again. That means you do not need hundreds of sentences. You only need a small group of simple phrases that you can use confidently. Let's try one right now. Imagine you have just sat down at a restaurant. The first thing you want is the menu. Repeat after me. "Can I have the menu, please?" Once more, a little more naturally. "Can I have the menu, please?" Excellent. That single sentence can help you start almost any restaurant conversation. Now imagine the server returns a few minutes later and asks, "Are you ready to order?" Don't panic. Today, you will learn exactly how to answer that question with simple, natural English. Throughout this lesson, do not worry about speaking quickly. Focus on speaking clearly and politely. Restaurant conversations are usually short. The staff are not expecting long speeches. They simply want to know what you need. By the end of this video, you will know how to ask for the menu, order food, request drinks, ask simple questions, and speak with much more confidence. Let's begin with the most useful restaurant phrases that you can start using immediately. Now that you have entered the restaurant and asked for the menu, the rest of the conversation becomes much easier. One reason many learners feel nervous is because they expect unexpected questions. In reality, restaurant conversations are surprisingly predictable. The server welcomes you, gives you the menu, asks if you're ready to order, brings your food, checks if everything is okay, and finally brings the bill. Once you learn a few simple sentence patterns, you can handle almost every situation with confidence. Imagine the server walks over and asks, "Are you ready to order?" Instead of panicking, smile and answer, "Yes, I'd like to order, please." Repeat that aloud with me. "Yes, I'd like to order, please." Now it is time to choose your meal. If you want a chicken sandwich, simply say, "I'd like the chicken sandwich, please." The structure is incredibly flexible because you only need to change the food. Try a few more examples. "I'd like the pasta, please." "I'd like the vegetable soup, please." "I'd like a cup of coffee, please." Notice how you're not memorizing dozens of different sentences. You are mastering one useful pattern that works almost everywhere. After taking your food order, the server will usually ask, "Anything to drink?" A simple and polite reply is, "Can I get some water, please?" Repeat it once. "Can I get some water, please?" Now replace water with another drink. "Can I get some tea, please?" "Can I get some coffee, please?" "Can I get an orange juice, please?" Once again, the sentence stays the same while only one word changes. This makes restaurant English much easier than many learners expect. Let's put those phrases together in a natural conversation. The server asks, "What would you like to order?" You answer, "I'd like the grilled chicken, please." The server smiles and asks, "Anything to drink?" You reply, "Can I get some sparkling water, please?" Congratulations! You have already completed the most important part of ordering a meal. But what if you are still reading the menu? Many learners become nervous because they feel the server is waiting impatiently. There is an easy solution. Simply say, "Can I have a few more minutes, please?" Repeat it with me. "Can I have a few more minutes, please?" This short sentence immediately removes the pressure. The server understands that you are still deciding and will usually return a little later. During your meal, you may need something else. Perhaps you forgot to ask for a spoon or you need more napkins. Start with a polite phrase, "Excuse me," then continue with, "Could I have a spoon, please?" You can easily change the object. Could I have a fork, please? Could I have some napkins, please? Could I have some ketchup, please? Again, you're using the same sentence pattern every time. That is one of the easiest ways to build confidence because you are learning a structure instead of memorizing separate expressions. Eventually, you finish your meal and want to pay. In many countries, the bill does not arrive automatically, so you need to ask for it. The simplest way is, "Could I have the bill, please?" In American English, you will also hear, "Could I get the check, please?" Both expressions are common and polite. Repeat both aloud. "Could I have the bill, please?" And "Could I get the check, please?" Now imagine the entire conversation from beginning to end. You walk into the restaurant, sit down, and say, "Could I have the menu, please?" A few minutes later, the server returns, and you confidently say, "I'd like the chicken sandwich, please. Can I get some water, please?" During the meal, you ask, "Excuse me, can I have some napkins, please?" Finally, when you are ready to leave, you smile and say, "Could I have the bill, please?" That is a complete restaurant conversation using only a handful of simple sentence patterns. Notice something important. None of these sentences are long or complicated. You do not need advanced grammar or difficult vocabulary to communicate successfully in a restaurant. What matters most is speaking clearly, politely, and confidently. Once these phrases become automatic, eating at an English-speaking restaurant becomes much less stressful and much more enjoyable. Of course, restaurants are only one part of traveling. Another situation that makes many English learners nervous is shopping for clothes or other everyday items. What do you say when you need another size, want to know the price, or want to pay by card? Let's practice those conversations next. Now that you know how to order food confidently, let's move to another everyday situation that many English learners find stressful: shopping. Imagine you walk into a clothing store while traveling. You see a jacket you really like, but there is one problem. You do not know how to ask about the price, the size, or the payment options. Instead of asking for help, you quietly leave the store. The good news is that shopping conversations are just as predictable as restaurant conversations. Once you learn a few practical sentence patterns, you can communicate naturally in almost any store. Let's begin with the most common question. You find something you like, but you cannot see the price tag. Simply ask, "How much is this?" Repeat after me, "How much is this?" It is short, polite, and useful everywhere, whether you are shopping for clothes, souvenirs, books, or even food at a local market. If you're holding several items, you can also ask, "How much are these?" The only difference is changing this to these. Now imagine you find a shirt that you love, but it is too small. This happens every day in clothing stores, so employees hear this question all the time. Simply ask, "Do you have this in another size?" Let's practice together. Do you have this in another size? If you already know the size you need, you could be even more specific by saying, "Do you have this in a medium?" Or "Do you have this in a larger size?" You are still using the same sentence pattern while changing only a few words. Sometimes the size is perfect, but you would like a different color. Once again, you do not need a completely new sentence. Just ask, "Do you have this in another color?" Try saying it aloud. Now imagine you want the same shoes in black instead of white. You could say, "Do you have these in black?" Simple questions like these make shopping much less stressful because they sound natural and are used every day. Now let's continue. Perhaps you want to try the clothes on before buying them. In many stores, you can ask, "Can I try this on?" Repeat after me, "Can I try this on?" If you're holding more than one item, simply say, "Can I try these on?" The employee will usually show you the fitting room. You may even hear the question, "Would you like to try it on?" Now you already know exactly what they mean. After deciding to buy the item, the final step is paying. Many travelers worry about asking whether a store accepts credit cards, but the question is very easy. Can I pay by card? Repeat it once. Can I pay by card? If you plan to pay with cash instead, there is usually no need to ask. Simply hand over the money. But knowing this sentence is useful because payment methods can be different from country to country. Let's put everything together in one smooth conversation. Imagine you walk into a clothing store and pick up a jacket. You ask, "How much is this?" The employee tells you the price. You realize it is too small, so you ask, "Do you have this in another size?" They bring you a larger one. You smile and say, "Can I try this on?" After trying it on, you decide to buy it. At the cashier, you ask, "Can I pay by card?" In just a few short sentences, you have completed an entire shopping experience using practical English that native speakers hear every day. Notice what makes these conversations successful. The grammar is simple. The vocabulary is practical. Most importantly, every sentence has a clear purpose. You are not trying to impress anyone with difficult English. You are simply communicating what you need politely and confidently. Speaking of politeness, there is one small detail that can completely change how friendly and natural your English sounds. It is not difficult grammar or advanced vocabulary. It is the way you ask for things and two small words that native speakers use constantly, please and excuse me. In the next section, you will discover why these simple expressions can make every conversation smoother, along with the inspiring story of Thomas, who gained the confidence to travel abroad using these exact communication skills. By now, you have learned the essential phrases for restaurants and shopping. But there is one small detail that can make your English sound much more natural, even if your grammar is not perfect. That detail is politeness. Native English speakers often judge a conversation less by perfect grammar and more by whether it feels friendly and respectful. The good news is that you only need a few simple words to create that impression. The two most powerful words are please and excuse me. They are short, easy to remember, and useful in almost every situation. Compare these two sentences. First, "Can I have some water?" Now listen to the second one. "Can I have some water, please?" Both are correct, but the second sounds warmer and more polite. That single word changes the feeling of the conversation. Let's practice together. Repeat after me. "Could I have the menu, please?" "Can I pay by card, please?" "Could I have the bill, please?" Notice that you do not need complicated grammar. Simply adding please makes your request sound more friendly. Now let's look at another useful expression, excuse me. Many learners think it is only used when they accidentally bump into someone. In fact, it has many uses. Imagine you want to get a server's attention in a busy restaurant. Instead of waving your hand silently, you can politely say, "Excuse me." If you need help in a clothing store, you can walk over to an employee and say, "Excuse me. Do you have this in another size?" The phrase signals that you are about to ask a question respectfully. There is another expression that is just as important. Thank you. It may seem obvious, but many learners forget how often native speakers use it. After receiving your food, say, "Thank you." After someone helps you find the right size, smile and say, "Thank you very much." These small moments create positive conversations, even when your English is simple. Thomas discovered this during his first trip abroad. Before traveling, he worried constantly about speaking English. He believed he needed advanced vocabulary and perfect grammar before ordering food or asking for directions. Because of that, he practiced long, complicated sentences that he rarely used in real life. When he finally arrived at his destination, he realized that most conversations lasted less than a minute. Instead of trying to impress people, Thomas focused on being polite. Every conversation started with "excuse me" or "hi." Every request ended with "please." Every interaction finished with "thank you." Something interesting happened. Even when he made small grammar mistakes, people smiled, understood him, and happily helped him. He realized that friendly communication was far more important than perfect English. After a few days, Thomas stopped worrying about every word. Ordering coffee became easy. Shopping became enjoyable. Asking for directions no longer felt embarrassing. His confidence did not grow because his grammar suddenly became perfect. It grew because he experienced successful conversations again and again. You can do exactly the same thing. Before your next English conversation, remember one simple formula. Start politely, ask simply, finish with gratitude. For example, excuse me. Can I have a coffee, please? After receiving it, simply say, thank you. Or when shopping, excuse me. Do you have this in a larger size, please? Then finish with, thank you very much. These conversations are short, but they leave a positive impression. Most people will remember your kindness long before they remember a small grammar mistake. Now that you know the language, it is time to use it. In the next section, we are going to practice together through a real-life role play. I will become the restaurant server and the store employee, and your job is to answer aloud as if we were having a real conversation. Now it's your turn to speak. Don't worry about making mistakes. Imagine we are having a real conversation. I will play the server or the shop assistant, and you will answer aloud. Speak naturally. If you need a few extra seconds, that's perfectly fine. The goal is not to be perfect. The goal is to respond confidently. Let's begin in a restaurant. You walk into the restaurant. I smile and say, hello. Welcome. Table for one. Pause the video for a moment if you need to, then answer aloud. A simple response could be, yes, please, or yes, a table for one, please. Great. A few moments later, I hand you a menu and ask, are you ready to order? Give your answer now. You might say, yes, I'd like the grilled chicken, please. Or perhaps, could I have a few more minutes, please? Both answers are completely natural, depending on the situation. Now I ask, would you like something to drink? Say your answer aloud. Maybe you choose, can I get some water, please? Or perhaps, I'd like a cup of coffee, please. Excellent. Keep your voice clear and relaxed. You finished your meal, and I walk over to your table one last time. I ask, is everything okay? You can simply smile and reply, yes, thank you. It was delicious. Then, when you're ready to leave, say, could I have the bill, please? Excellent. You have just completed an entire restaurant conversation. Now let's move to a clothing store. You are looking at a jacket, and I walk over and ask, can I help you? Answer aloud. A simple reply might be, yes, how much is this? Or yes, do you have this in another size? I answer, of course. What size are you looking for? Respond naturally. You could say, a medium, please, or a larger size, please. I bring another jacket and ask, would you like to try it on? Your answer is easy, yes, please. After trying it on, you decide to buy it. At the cashier, I ask, will you be paying by cash or card? Answer confidently, by card, please. Well done. Notice something important. You didn't need advanced vocabulary. You didn't need long, complicated grammar. You simply listened, understood the situation, and responded with short, useful English. That is exactly how thousands of real conversations happen every day. The more often you practice these simple role plays aloud, the less nervous you'll feel when the same situations happen in real life. Your brain begins to recognize the pattern, and instead of searching for words, you'll already have them ready. In the final part, I'll give you one simple challenge that you can complete the next time you visit a cafe, restaurant, or shop, helping you turn today's practice into real-world confidence. Today, you learned something important about speaking English in everyday situations. You do not need hundreds of expressions or perfect grammar to order a meal, buy a shirt, or ask for help. Most real conversations follow simple patterns, and once those patterns become familiar, your confidence begins to grow naturally. Now it is time to move beyond practice and use these phrases in real life. Here is your challenge. The next time you visit a cafe, restaurant, or store, even in your own country, look for one opportunity to speak English. If the staff speaks English, order your drink in English. If you're shopping, ask one simple question like, how much is this? Or do you have this in another size? If you cannot find an English-speaking place, create the situation yourself. Read a menu online, Imagine you are talking to a server and say your order aloud. Walk through a clothing store and quietly practice asking questions in English. Every small repetition helps build confidence. Remember, your goal is not to sound like a native speaker. Your goal is to communicate clearly and politely. If you forget a word, stay calm. Use the simple sentence patterns you learned today. Add please, excuse me, and thank you, and you will already sound friendly and respectful. The more often you use English in ordinary situations, the less frightening those situations become. One successful conversation leads to another, and before long, ordering food or shopping in English feels completely normal. So before this day ends, choose one phrase from today's lesson and say it aloud at least 10 times. Tomorrow, try using it in a real situation or during a short role play at home. Small daily practice creates lasting confidence. If you enjoyed this lesson and want to learn more practical English for everyday life, subscribe to the channel and join us for the next video. We will continue building your speaking confidence with simple, natural English that you can use immediately. Remember, English becomes easier every time you use it. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Start speaking today, one simple conversation at a time.